Texas high school football royalty, over 320 wins, the first black head coach in Texas high school football history to win over 300 games, over 30 seasons as a head coach in Texas high school football. And on Saturday, he became champion. He is the head coach at Duncanville High School. He is Reginald Samples, joining us via the Diamond Factory Hotline. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Coach Samples, what's happening?
All right. How you guys doing?
We're doing great, but not as good as you. Congratulations. It's been a long time coming. Can you tell us about when the game ended and they threw the Gatorade on you and everybody started going crazy? What was going on in your mind? Was it Was it relief? Was it adulation? Tell us how you were feeling at that moment at AT&T Stadium.
Well, you're exactly right. It was relief first, and then it was adulation. And it was just, I felt like it was a combination of all those years and all that hard work and, just all wrapped up in one.
Over 40,000 fans at the state title game between Duncanville and Galena Park North Shore. Can you kind of just speak to the outpouring of emotion leading up to this week and obviously after the game about the messages and the communications and conversations that you were having with friends and family leading up to this game and obviously having a chance to celebrate with those closest to you after winning on Saturday night?
Well, leading up to the game, it's pretty standard. I don't talk very much. I'm kind of like a hermit. I get somewhere by myself and close up and try to focus on things pertaining to the game. I make notes. As a matter of fact, Friday night leading up to the game, I had some things on my mind as far as keys to the game. So I wrote those things up and tried to figure out how to make copies and give it to the kids and go over it. So the night before the game, it's all preparation.
You know what? I got to go ahead and pull the curtain back, man. Me and Coach Samples have been knowing each other for like 30-something years, since back in those Lincoln days, man. I'm so proud of you. Everybody's so happy for you, but you got to also be happy for Coach Mathis at DeSoto and your protege, Coach Todd, over there at South Oak Cliff. Coach Todd won back-to-back state titles. He played for you at Lincoln, and he was also on your staff for a minute. But at the same time, it's almost like he won a title, you won a title. It's like you were his mentor. That was rare. You have Coach Mathis, two black coaches to win 6A titles. What can you say about the three of y'all, especially you and Coach Todd in particular?
Well, I'm always prideful of coaches that have come up in my system, and Coach Todd actually played for me. I've known him since he was in the 8th grade.
Look out.
We've gone through some times and some hard times. I know his family. His granddad actually was my high school principal.
Look out.
And
Wow.
So
He's family, man. That's family.
It's family, and we have all those stories. When he was coming up as a sophomore and junior in high school, I used to make jokes with him about how harsh his granddad was on us, and I made jokes about the fact that he was actually getting it easy as far as how we were treated by his granddad. So we got some real good stories. But as far as Coach Todd as a coach, I always knew he was going to be successful. It was just something about him. He had that drive and that just that inner spirit about coaching. Even when he was in high school, there are a lot of times I would have to really get on him because as a player, he would come up to me as a player and try to help me coach. And, it was really unnerving. But after he went on to college, it was no doubt in my mind that I knew that he was going to be a great coach.
And as we look back at what happened on Saturday, I want to highlight a couple of your players, the offensive and defensive MVPs of this game. I mean, Caden Durham and Colin Simmons were absolutely fantastic. Can you just speak to their play and their leadership and how they were obviously able to be key players in what was a terrific win on Saturday night?
Well, first starting with Caden Durham, he's been consistent like that all year long. I think probably the lowest yardage he's had in any game, maybe 100 yards. And so he's been very consistent. he's such a even keel young man. He's not a rah guy. He just kind of goes along and, he takes care of his business. And, it's really heartwarming, even before the state game, Friday, the day before, we had a walkthrough, and he waited till he could get me alone. And he just kind of walked up to me, very surreal, and said, "Coach, I'm going to get this one for you. You can write that down." And just, kids like that, regardless of what happens in the game, it's really heartwarming to know that they think like that and they care that way. And as far as Colin Simmons is actually the exact opposite. He's the guy that you always have to tone down, and I had to really kind of talk to him. That Friday, the thing with him Friday was he wanted me to wear a mask out of the locker room. And so he kept asking me, "Coach, you masking up?" And I said, Colin, I didn't want to bust his bubble. So I just said, we'll see. Let's just wait and see. And he worried me about masking up. He's just that kind of guy. He's very fiery. I remember, who was it? Oh, we had media day Thursday morning. And, I try to tell the guys to be humble and, make sure you say good things about the opponent. And Caden did that. He said he knew that North Shore is a good program, that kind of thing. Well, when Colin got to the microphone, I actually had to cringe a little bit because he started right out saying he didn't care anything about North Shore. He didn't think very much of them. And he's going to show the world that they're not as good as everybody says they were. And I'm sitting there going, "Oh no!"
I hear you. Oh my goodness! But you bring up
that's just his nature. That's the way. That's the way he thinks, and
that's the way he's wired.
That's the way he's wired.
You know what, Coach? We said North Shore. When everybody found out it was going to be you guys against North Shore again, it's almost like, in a way, it was perfect symmetry. If y'all were to win the state title, go through your nemesis. In other words, go through the team that gave you the heartbreak sometime.
Had to be North Shore.
It had to be North Shore. And also the fact that you're undefeated. This is the first time Duncanville has ever been undefeated. Even though they won the title in 98, they had, I think, a loss or two. But the bottom line was y'all were undefeated and beat all the foes. But can you talk about the symmetry of it had to be North Shore?
Well, I was talking to some college guys. Those college guys, they have a code where they can watch all of the high schools, to do their recruiting.
Right.
And so I got a couple of buddies that are at some prominent universities that called me during the week, and they swore up and down that Westlake would beat North Shore.
Uh-oh.
And they coach, we've been watching all year long. We feel like Westlake, you're going to end up playing Westlake. I don't think North Shore, this, that, and the other. And I've been watching film all week, and I just told them, I said, I respect your opinion, but I don't know if that's going to be true. And really, when you get to that point where I am, I wanted to win a state championship. It could have been against the Pee Wee League. I just wanted that trophy so bad. I tell you, it's something. The most horrifying thing about the whole thing is having them to come back to you the second time with that second place trophy. And then they ask you to go in the media room and with all the media and talk about getting second place.
Yeah.
That is just something that's, really hard to do.
Reginald Samples, Duncanville High School football head coach and state champion, joining us here on the Get Right for Reggie KG on 105.3 The Fan. And as you were talking after the game on Saturday, one of the things that struck me the most was your thoughts about all the players and the coaches and the staff members that have helped you along the way. For you, obviously, this is a very personal win for you in winning the state championship. But what are the thoughts that go through your mind about all the individuals over the last 30-plus years that have helped you get to this point and what you would want to say to them after having this moment?
Well, that's the most important thing. And I really, I don't know how to describe it. My heart goes to all those people that I know were pulling for me. It actually started with my son. I don't know if you got a chance to see him. He was overwhelmed with tears, and because, one of the overriding things, if you go back to the Hail Mary, he took it really hard. And so just to have him, to watch him and see how it affected him that was worth the world to me. And my wife and I, we were just looking at it, and every time I see it, it makes everything worthwhile. But along those lines, the other part of it was when I got home that night, and everybody was going here and there, and I just wanted to go home and sit and be quiet and think about it. And when I got home, I had over 220 text messages on my phone.
Wow.
And that it was just, it was very heartwarming. And almost every one of them was someone I knew. I knew exactly, I knew what they were about. I knew how they felt. I knew why they were calling. I even had some of my ex-trainers and managers from Skyline and Lincoln 15, 20 years ago. One of my good friends, Al Wash, who gives the Grambling and Prairie View game, he and I, we've been friends for over 30 years. We used to give track meets together, and he called me Sunday morning, and the first thing he said is, "Man, you had me crying like a baby."
I love me some Al Wash. That's great.
That kind of thing just means the world to you, because you know that they were living it and feeling it for you. And when people care about you like that, it can't help. You can't help but feel great about it and feel good about the fact that people care.
Exactly. And again, what's so paramount for a lot of people, again, they've watched you win a lot along the way. You've won over 300 games so far, and then to win the state championship, to cap it all off. We know you're going to retire one of these days. I know you're not retiring anytime soon, or is there something we need to know?
Man, we're going back to back.
Okay, all right, there it is.
That's what we wanted to hear. Gotta do that.
Gotta do that. And, those guys that you're talking about, my quarterbacks are sophomore, Caden's a junior, Collins a junior, all of my better players, Decorian Moore, my sophomore #1 receiver in the country, he's actually a sophomore. We've got a freshman that I think will be as good as Collins. I just can't quit on those guys. I mean, and let me say this, Christian, you've known me a long time, and I just feel like part of my calling is just that those are good kids, but there are so many kids that we're not talking about. That they need mentoring and they need father figures, and and sometimes it's not the ones that you see go on to Texas and Oklahoma and Kansas. It's those guys who just barely make it out of high school, and they go on and they get a job with the city, or they get a job, just one of those regular jobs. Some of the most overwhelming moments I have is like the other day, about a week ago, I was in Luby's or somewhere, and I was talking, running my mouth or doing something, and the guy across the room just kept staring at me and staring and staring. And finally, somebody says, "Coach, I don't know what's going on, but that he's enamored with you." And finally, he got up, and he was one of the kids from one of my Lincoln teams, and that's been 25 years. And he said, "Coach, I know you probably don't remember me." And when he told me his name, I actually remembered him. It's just that he had changed so much physically. He had a beard and overgrown
he grown up.
Yeah, he looked my age. and he said, "I just want you to know that, when I played for you, I wasn't the best player on the team, but, just the experience of playing and what we used to go through and what you said has had a great impact on my life. And then he turned around and called his son over and said, hey, whatever he said, this is Coach Sample, the guy that I've been talking about all these years. And, and his little son just kind of wanted a hug and that kind of thing there, you can't put a value on it. And, it's why I coach. And, I just feel like, my services are needed. And, as long as I can do it and be happy, I'm going to keep going.
Hey, we love hearing that because that's exactly what it's all about. You're talking about what makes it worthwhile for you, a purpose-driven life. You're turning boys to men. You provided some leadership, some like you said, a father figure for a lot of them. And that's as valuable as just winning a damn game. It's as valuable as winning a state championship because you mean so much to so many people. Again, Coach, we can't say thank you enough and congratulations for all you do. I'm going to say this one other point again because this is absolutely amazing. Here are these three schools that won a state championship this year. We're talking about DeSoto. We're talking about South Oak Cliff. We're talking about Duncanville. Now, also Aledo and Gunner, they represent North Texas as well. But those three schools I just mentioned, DeSoto, Duncanville, and South Oak Cliff, are 12 miles apart, which means there's a whole lot of talent that know how to play football off of I-20 and 67. That's all I'm saying.
You are exactly right. And guys, I don't want to get off without telling you this. It was kind of crazy because I've heard Chris kind of come in the morning on my way to work, and I didn't know his attachment or if he had a show tonight. Just that, I've heard him talk in the mornings or when I drive to work. But I have to admit to you guys, I'm a Tolo. After a little while, and I wonder what the hell is a Tolo, and I got to listening, and that's part of my ritual in the morning on the way to work is to listen to you guys, and I think you guys do a great job.
Appreciate it.
That's
Turn it on, leave it on. From the state champion, head coach of the Duncanville Panthers, Reginald Samples.
Coach, thank you so much for the time. We sincerely appreciate it, and we hope that this win was as enjoyable as you hoped it would be once you got that state championship. We appreciate your time this evening, sir.
Merry Christmas, man.
Same to you, and guys, thank you guys for having me.